Welcome to the Story Takes Responsibility podcast, a show for companies, marketing teams, and founders looking to improve their storytelling through video. Make the process easier and feel more confident walking into their marketing plans. Our mission is to add value through our decade-plus experience in making video production more than just videos, but videos with objectives and partnerships with brands that value consistency. Our hope is that this podcast makes you more sustainable and budget-conscious in your marketing efforts. This show will inspire ideas and value, but most importantly, we want you to take action towards better storytelling.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Let's make it happen. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Ross and Josh from Mylan here. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what might already be working in your marketing. Because when it comes to figuring out planning, plotting, whatever it may be, when you're trying to figure out a video project or a creative project in general, I think it's really easy to look at, well, why do I need this? My marketing is already working, right? I've already got a pretty self-sustaining system. My business method, my business model is already up and running. It's working. Why do I need a flashy piece of video or a flashy piece of content or whatever? What's that really going to do, right? It might not be easy to look at it as, oh, well, we're adding icing to the cake, right? We're adding some icing and sprinkles and decorations to an already really well-made cake that has great ingredients. I think it's easy to kind of overlook that sometimes, right? You're not going to look at it in that sense of like, hey, I have a wonderful cake. How can we spruce it up a little bit? To stick with that analogy. And I know there's been a lot of cases where we've ran into that in the past, and it's actually become a very flourishing good thing and makes for projects to go way smoother because we're able to actually step in and see what's already working, and just like a cake, we're able to add to it, make it more decorative, make it taste even a little bit better by coming in and adding. So creative projects and video productions don't have to be just about, we have to make something from ground zero. We have to make something from step one. We have to make something out of nothing. A lot of the times we can come in and just emphasize what's already there. So doing a video project or adding some creative marketing or a creative project in general to your business model doesn't have to be looked at as fixing something that's not even broken. Why are we trying to do this? Why are we trying to add to this? It's really just, it is adding to what is already there. But you can take something that's working and make it flourish even more. We can make it a better oiled machine than what it might already be. There's, of course, some examples that I know you and I, we're going to toss out with this. So I'm going to toss the floor to you. When we talk about, breaking down what's already working in someone's marketing, what do we mean by that?
Well, I'm going to stick with your analogy for a second.
Let's talk about cake more. Welcome to the cake show.
The reality is you might have a beautiful chocolate-flavored cake and you don't even know it. That's a great thing to have, and sometimes we need to give them the gift of understanding that. Now, we're not usually saying, hey, you got a chocolate cake.
We bring cakes to meetings, folks. We bring a cake as an example, and then we all eat it at the beginning as long as we say yes to the project. So,
I think we need to start doing that. I mean,
you know what? Why not at this point?
I mean, I think most people would agree. Oh my God, that's a great idea.
You heard it here first, folks, right here on the Mylan podcast. We're going to bring cakes to meetings, and we're all going to enjoy them at the end of it.
All right. So aside from that, I think one of the things, I'll just use American culture in this hustle, grind, entrepreneur hustle. There's all these ideas around build upon your weaknesses and make don't have weaknesses. The reality is there's always going to be weak points. And it's we can focus on those, but that's focusing on our problems rather than focusing on what's actually really great there. So we love figuring out what are your strong points? What are your unique advantages? That's really what we're talking about. And it's then you start to kind of realize oh, we do have that chocolate cake. We do have this beautiful thing in front of us. So it's giving them that gift throughout that process. Again, discovery calls go a long way when we're talking to someone and we're not just let's go doom and gloom. Tell us about all your problems. It's I like to have that balance of yes, you might very well have some problems in your business. And yes, we definitely have to address those. But is there something that you're overlooking that's actually working really, really well? That's what we mean by let's focus on that. Let's focus on the good. Instead of just hey, we have problems, we have all these things. Let's look at what's working, and then let's turn that into storytelling, into marketing, into whatever these things. If you haven't marketed at all, or if you have, let's build upon what is already working. Let's increase the odds. You hear me say this stuff all the time, but it's really about let's just uncover what the good things are, what's working really, really well. And so often it ends up becoming a gift for them where it's oh, great. I can kind of like go maybe half and half on, yeah, we have this problem and let's divide and conquer and put some things and efforts in making that a little bit better. But what ultimately ends up happening when we double down on the really strong points, starts to naturally raise the other areas, or it starts to realize like that other area actually doesn't even matter. Maybe we're going after a whole demographic or an audience that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'll use gyms as an example, and I'll use this also as okay, problems are one thing, but trends or looking at your competition and putting too much weight over there is another thing. There's this whole trend of gym videos of these really hype, like energetic things. They're super entertaining. They're super cool. But I don't know what gym it is. I don't care. It's just all the hype right now of like having these really energetic, epic workout videos and whatnot. Is there anything inherently wrong with it? Absolutely not. But let's realize that it's kind of really just vanity metrics. This is the thing to spice up and to be exciting, to entertain, to add value in that way. It doesn't really add any like dimension to the cake. It's something that's maybe like a side dish to it, or, you know, another utensil or a sprinkle on top of it, but it's not adding any weight or volume or addition to it. So a lot of times by focusing on that strength, focusing on those strong points, that can be a really good way of finding out what's your differentiator. What is that unfair advantage? And let's double down and be brave in marketing and telling a story around those things.
You know, something I love that you said in that is, not necessarily avoiding the weaknesses that we have, but if you really do double down on the strengths, that's going to naturally raise those weaknesses. It's naturally going to make those maybe become some strengths, right? If we really are focusing in and not ignoring either part necessarily. It's not about imagining that one thing doesn't exist or saying, we've got that strength. We don't need to think about it anymore. We don't need to work on it anymore. So first off, I love that you explained that. And second, bringing up the idea of the gym thing, right? One project that I would love to talk about in this is the campaign that we did with the gym Fit 14 here in Columbus, right? They are a gym that already had their marketing figured out, right? In a sense, they weren't necessarily doing any marketing because the marketing's word of mouth. The marketing is that it's a great gym with a cool culture and people really like going there. So in that discovery process of figuring out how it made sense for us to work with Fit 14, that was kind of a classic case of, hey, you've got a cake with great ingredients. Now here's how we really shape and mold it and add some extra flavor to that cake. So I'd love for dive in a little bit into that Fit 14 project because, not just did we do a plethora of different things that we kind of have in our tool belt of being able, from story films to microfilms and subject matters and all that sort of stuff. And then I have been able to go in and work with them on their social media marketing and all that sort of stuff. But I think they really are kind of a Class A example of they already had something working really well in their marketing. We just got to come in and really emphasize that and really shed some bright, shiny, colorful light onto what was already working.
Yeah. I think what sticks out a bit about Fit 14 is Ryan's bravery. First and foremost, the first call that we have with him is so chill and relaxed, and he's just super honest with us. He's like, listen, I've been told I need to do this video or photo thing. And it's like, the gym works super well. I don't have to do any marketing. We have people constantly coming in, and he was just really open and honest with us. So, I'll admit, the biggest thing that I was worried about was gosh, I don't want to do hype gym films or anything like that. If that's it, I'm going to pass them on to a videographer that would really crush it in that element because, yeah, we could do that and we could probably do it pretty well, but I don't think we're adding any value. That's not at all Ryan. He's just listen, I've been told that you guys know how to do this thing. A bunch of people are recommending you. I'm not in any rush to do this, but I'm just curious to figure out how to go about this. So he went into this very curious, which allowed us to go in really curious. And I'm just why are you thinking about this? Or what's working good? And he was just such an open book with us. And he's like, well, the membership thing, it just works automatically. Why does it work automatically? He's like, well, I have kind of this different business model. And he's like, I'm really trying to, give my trainers the ability to, have careers in this and to highlight them. And that's the model. It's a little bit different than other ones. I'm like, let's dig in a little bit more there. That's pretty interesting. And he just takes us on this journey that's what we really arrive at is you have an amazing culture. You have something that you're doing so much different than any other gym. That's the unique story that we need to uncover. And obviously, any business owner is going to talk great about their business. We go in and do that project, and we're just kind of dumbfounded by when we're doing this, it's literally during an open gym. And not only are his trainers just so receptive and they work with us and they open up and they tell us all this stuff and they're trusting of us because they trust Ryan. There's people working out and they have so much respect for him that he's like, hey, can you guys just like work out and be super quiet during this, which is such a ridiculous ask. Literally everyone did. And I'm like, this is truly one of the most impressive experiences I've had, because everyone that's in that gym celebrates, appreciates, and loves what that culture is and what he's created there. So it became really apparent for us that like the story that's at hand here is your guys' culture, the model that you've created for your trainer films. And the other thing that was really cool about working with Ryan is like, he's a great planner. He's really good at communication. And he also has this like militaristic, like, let's figure out how we solve these problems. And he came with us side by side to solve these problems, to make this immense campaign possible and make the most of his budget. So when I'm thinking about what's working in a brand and someone who's brave enough to tell that story, Fit14 really fits the mold. Ryan really fits the mold because he gave us the opportunity to challenge what the trends are in the market, and we're able to tell a different type of story. And now that's connecting with a whole different audience. And the other thing is, like, so often people come to this as like, boy, things aren't working in my business. Now we need to go and react to this problem. Like we talked about in the word of mouth, the death trap of referrals. He's thinking so forwardly ahead that's like, I totally don't have to market, but everyone keeps saying this marketing thing, this video production, this photo thing matters. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. And he was just like, I don't know what I need. Like, let's just talk about this. He really cared about the relationship. He valued our opinions, and we were able to make something that was really custom, that's really special to us. I'd like to think that it's really special to him, but every time we work with his team, it's so natural, it's so easy, and it's like, great, we literally not only have a relationship with you, but your whole ecosystem, and your whole ecosystem speaks the same language.
That's what I was going to say. What I was going to say is I wanted to add in, they're all consistent as well. They're consistently speaking of the same culture, the same team environment. It's not, even though he has a business model that is independent trainers working under the umbrella of Fit14, they're not actual employees, right? That being the unique model that we wanted to shed some light on. The fact is, everybody's there for a reason. Everybody's there not because they think the exact same or even train the exact same, but it's because their reason for training, it all aligns. And it aligns with the culture that Fit14 itself has built. Now, something that you kind of said within that is, you can dig in and we can talk about what's working in your marketing, right? And let's say there's a business owner maybe listening to this right now or something. They're like, well, I don't know what's working in my marketing. A quote that I heard forever ago that I've always, since then, have continuously reminded myself of whenever I'm dealing with really anything. And it's this idea that whenever you think you don't have something, there is something else in its place, right? So if we feel like we're missing one thing, you actually have something else in its place that you maybe haven't uncovered or discovered yet. I think that 100% leans into everything that we're talking about right now, as any sort of business owner can sit and say, well, my marketing doesn't work. Maybe I don't have great word of mouth, or maybe I don't have this amazing thing, whatever it is. Just like on that original discovery call with Ryan talking about Fit14, it was, hey, my marketing's working. I don't know what else I need. Well, why is the marketing? We dig into those whys, and then we're going to uncover something that we can emphasize. I think that works the exact same way. So if somebody's listening to this and they're saying, well, my marketing isn't working that great. This whole episode is about why my marketing is working and why video can add to it or whatever it may be. I don't even have that part. I would encourage whoever's listening to sit, take a step back, slow down for just a second and say, okay, we can identify what we don't have. Maybe there's something that's not working in our marketing or our branding strategy. Let's take a step back and let's figure out what we do have.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have that awesome social media presence or that awesome marketing budget or that awesome slew of videos that we can be tossing out on the internet all the time. Maybe what we do actually have, maybe we do have that great culture. Maybe we do have that great team mentality. Maybe we do have that great employee, that group of employees. Maybe we do have that great culture that just exists within our brand and in our company. Or maybe we just have a great story of why this thing exists in the first place. Mm-hmm. That, I think, directly feeds into whatever you think you don't have, you have something else in its place. And then that directly correlates into, okay, in the world of marketing and advertising that everything has to exist in, what can that be turned into? What can that be given a purpose for? So I always think that there's something there, even if you don't think that there is, even if you can't directly say, well, I need a video project to tell this story about this thing to advertise tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like that's not there, I guarantee there's something there if you do a little bit of digging.
Yeah, and one of the things is there's like a little bit of resistance of like, there's this feeling of like, well, I don't want to exploit, or I don't want to, take this and turn it into a promotional piece of content. The thing that we're always trying to help people realize is like, when you're not helping people understand a unique problem that you solve or an experience that you create or whatever it is that's uniqueness and beautiful about your story, you're really doing a disservice, because there's a bunch of people that could benefit from that service, from that experience, from your brand. And that's almost the permission we give people a lot of the times. It's like when I walk someone through that discovery call, when we're talking to someone early on in that phase, when I'm kind of asking them, like, can you tell me a little bit about your business? Can you tell me a little bit about like what really fires you up in it? That's where some of these stories start to come out. It starts to ease them into that, and they start to reveal a little bit of their why or their purpose or their mission. And then when I like start to say, it's like, have you thought about making content around that? Or have you thought about a story this way? Or I throw a few ideas out. There's always like, oh, that sounds really great, but I might feel a little weird about asking someone or whatnot. Like with client testimonials, like they're obvious, and it's like someone could sit here and hear that, but then it's like, I have to go ask someone to be on camera, make us the bad guys. That's a lot of times like, just say, hey, we're entering into some video, and our video production team kind of highlighted you as a story, or we talked about it, and they really would love to see you do that. It almost gives you a barrier away of this. And that's kind of what people like us are here to do, is like to help make it a little bit easier, to make it be like, hey, I'm the idea creator, but they're the executors. And we're here to help guide that through and make that story a little more possible, and to make it as easy for you to do as possible. But I think asking some of those questions can be difficult when we're being reflective, but when you have someone else asking those questions about like what makes you unique, what's really lighting you up, what's special about your business, what's special about what you do, or what experience do you think you create, or how are you different than your competition, it allows you to just kind of take some time and zoom out and be like, that's an interesting question. Let's live there a little bit. And I'm going to massage it a little bit more, and then we're going to be ideating together and working together towards uncovering this story. You can't just fabricate it. It does take a little bit of teamwork. It can be a little bit awkward. It can be a little bit scary. You can feel like, maybe this isn't the right thing, but understanding that you're creating opportunities and entry points. When you look at your business, and maybe you are marketing right now, maybe you are putting video out there, or you're putting photo out there, and it isn't hitting the mark. The reality is like, is the right thing out there hitting the mark? Have you been asking the right questions? Have you been really identifying what is unique about your business and then transforming that into the right content? Because the Jim who makes the hype film is like, oh, great, we got a bunch of views, but nothing changed. Yeah, what's there to dig into? There's nothing. But each piece of content, whether that's in person, whether that's online, whether that's your copywriting, whether that's your website, whatever the case is, that's a touch point. So I talk about marketing and storytelling all the time, but all of this is a touch point. And is it feeling the right way when it hits your audience?
So before we officially wrap this episode up, when it comes to identifying what's already working in your marketing, but not just identifying what's working, and more so understanding, okay, how can this be turned into something more, right? How can it relate to a potential video project? How can it relate to better marketing or advertising practices that we haven't thought we've needed for a while now? When it comes to just breaking that down, simplifying that, what's the biggest thing you'd want somebody to leave this episode with?
Every client we've talked to, I would safely say there's something special about your business, and it just takes a little bit of work to uncover that. And that's a lot harder. It's a lot easier for me to say that than you to uncover that. But so often we're so focused on being in the business. We hear the saying all the time, it's like working on the business versus working in the business. Taking some time to zoom out every once in a while, or just even talk to your team or to talk to your customers, it'll start to uncover some of these areas that are actually unique about your business. And that's usually the best place to start, because those are going to be the areas that really uncover that. But you have to be brave enough to ask those questions, to ask for feedback, to be in tune with your team, with your clients, with those experience points, to be able to uncover that story. That can be really difficult, but I promise, if you're in business and you've been in it in any amount of time, there's something special. There's some superpower about your business. Those are your strong points. figuring that out can take a lot of work, but it's work worth doing.
Beautiful. Hey, you can have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. We'll take that old saying. Does that apply to this? I mean, we were talking a lot about cakes in this episode. I think
we have to start bringing cakes to the discovery calls.
I think we do. Oh, just to the calls. You know what? Let's bring them to the calls
shoots too.
So, let's not bring them to any meetings or workshops. Let's bring our cakes to our calls. So if they're on Zoom, they can see us enjoying a cake and eating it, and they're like, "Why are you eating a cake during this meeting?" Like, listen, we got this whole cake analogy.
It might lay out a little bit better in workshops. You got it there. The cookies have been working, but I think the cake might be the better move.
I think cake takes it a layer further because we have a visual element to present to them. We're like, "Hey, look, this is you, right? This is your cake.
We're
this
about
is
to eat
us
you.
adding on the icing, and we are going to devour you as we sit and have the rest of this meeting." Well, before we talk about cakes and make this the only 3-hour episode of this whole Mylan show we've developed here, any closing thoughts, any final things that you feel like we didn't cover? I know you just said your last bit of things there, but anything else?
Well, this is... I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. All I really have to say is just, continue to be persistent and a little more open-minded and chasing towards these different marketing and these ideas. Like, they can be really complicated subjects because we overcomplicate them, or some new trend comes up, or the grass is greener on the other side, or our competition's doing this or that. Try to remove those distractions and just think about what is it that's great about you, that's great about your business, that you truly enjoy. And that kind of just moves your heart, that moves you in the direction, that gets you excited, that gets you out of bed, that gets you focused on this, that you think is a unique story. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Simple is better. Simple executed dynamically is better than something complex half-assed.
Beautiful. I absolutely love it. That is another episode in the books. He's been Josh. I've been Ross. This has been the Story Takes Responsibility podcast. Here to remind you, of course, you hear it in the title, that a story, well, it takes a bit of responsibility.
Thanks for joining us on another episode. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend, rate and like, and all the things we're supposed to tell you to do. If you want more storytelling tips and perspectives from the Mylan team, please join our newsletter and visit the website at mylan.company. That's MYELIN.company. Additionally, if you need help in your video marketing or want to learn more about our method, please feel free to book a discovery call with our team or email josh@jcp.co. This podcast wouldn't be possible without all the great companies that trust us, challenge our way of thinking, and offer amazing feedback. We love to add value to other companies, leaders, and productions. Being a part of that journey is an honor. This has been the Mylan Video Production Podcast. Story Takes Responsibility. Until next time.